Hey everyone, I finished watching all of Beetleborgs, and I did not care for it at all. Beetleborgs, at the beginning, the first season, I really love it, but then Metallics comes along and just throws away pretty much everything that made that first season work and feels special, and on top of all that, it doesn't even have a conclusion. The closest we get is Les Fortunes leaves and goes back to prison in the last episode, but like the monsters are still running around. We have Boron on the Beetleborgs side. It seems like something should come of that. So I started writing a finale, and it was weird. Like, when I write, it's kind of weird. I kind of get into a groove, and the story kind of writes itself after a while. I wasn't really able to fit in everything I wanted. I kind of want to write some more Beetleborgs stories. But this is the finale that I wrote. I'm pretty proud of it. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, but yeah, I wasn't able to fit in everything exactly that I wanted. So maybe in the future I could write more that includes those things, but for now, this is my finale for Beetleborgs. "Cartoonist!" yelled Nukas, stomping around the lair. "Cartoonist! I need new monsters!" Nukas couldn't find Les Fortunes anywhere. Harabel and Vylor popped in. "Don't you remember, boss?" asked Vylor. "Les Fortunes went back to prison." "No, I need monsters." "You two," Nukas pointed at Harabel and Vylor. "You two will draw me some new monsters." A few hours later, Harabel and Vylor show Nukas their drawings. Nukas shakes his head. Harabel could only draw stick figures, and Vylor just scribbled circles. "You call these monsters?" bellowed Nukas. Harabel sneered. She was tired of being berated by Nukas. "You think you can draw any better? Go ahead and try." Harabel handed Nukas some paper and pencils. He put the pencil to the paper and just scrawled zigzagged lines. He tried again and again, but he frustratedly gave up. He couldn't draw. "What are we gonna do, boss?" asked Vylor. Nukas dug through a pile of trash. Maybe there was another drawing of Les's buried in there. As he rummaged, he found a tattered old comic book. Beetleborgs. "That's it! We'll bring monsters out of the Beetleborgs comics." As Zoom Comics, Drew, Joe, and Roland are relaxing. Nano turned on a TV and a news report comes on. The kids happen to look up and see a story about Les Fortunes turning himself back in. Reporter Bunny Bodell is interviewing him. Apparently, he was going to try and reconcile with his brother and help out on his new comic. The kids were in shock. Joe was the first to speak up. "If Les went back to prison, what about Nukas and the crustaceans?" Drew wondered. "They won't be able to make any new monsters. And with Boron on our side now, they don't stand a chance against us," added Roland. Just then, the door to the shop flew open. Nukas, Vylor, and Harabel barge in. They push some of the customers out of the way and grab as many Beetleborgs comics as they can. Nano leaps into action and manages to kick over Harabel and Vylor. The kids slip away and Borg. They rush back in to see the monsters running away. Nano yells at them out the door. "Stay out, you freaky weirdo freaks!" They follow a trail of dropped comics to the cemetery. Underground in the lair, Nukas charges up his sword. He is going to bring out every monster he could. He pointed the sword at the stack of comics. "Monsters, arise!" At his command, hundreds of monsters flew from the comics, zipping past the Beetleborgs above. Nukas slumped to the ground, his power depleted. Harabel and Vylor stayed to guard him. Outside, the kids tried to figure out what to do. They ran back into town and found it overrun with monsters. "Come on, guys," said Drew. "Let's show these guys some Mega Spectra power." They powered up and began battling the monsters, but there were too many. Each time they took out one, even more came to fight. They tried summoning Roboborg and Boron, but even they were overpowered. They retreat to Hillhurst. Maybe Flabber could help. The Astralborgs were there. "Hey, glad to see you," Drew called to them. Dragonborg stepped forward. "We sensed a disturbance. We thought we should come check things out." The kids explained the situation, and the Astralborgs joined them to help take down the monsters. Unfortunately, some of the monsters have managed to gain control of Roboborg and Boron. Roboborg smashes Fireborg to pieces. Boron completely demolishes Lightningborg. Ladyborg and Dragonborg are next, knocked around and rendered unconscious. The kids try to power up to Mega Spectra mode, but without Roboborg under their control, they can't access it. With hundreds of monsters still attacking the city, the Beetleborgs retreat back to Hillhurst. At Hillhurst, Mums is trying to win a hip-hop music video contest and is trying to record a video with the monsters. Typical stuff. The kids tell Flabber about what's going on. Flabber is at a loss for ideas. Suddenly, they hear a knock at the door. Mums rushes to answer it. That must be the contest judges! Weird, I didn't even send the tape in yet. He opens the door only to scream and dive for cover when he sees who's there. Vexor, leader of the Magnivores. The kids prepare to fight, but from behind Vexor are Noxic, Jara, and Typhus waving a little white flag. We've come to agree to a truce, states Vexor. Inside, the Magnivores talk things over with the kids. We no longer want to rule the world, we just want revenge on that traitor Nucus. The kids don't trust them. Why should we trust you? Inquired Drew. I can control the monsters, said Vexor. I can order them back into the comics. Noxic chimed in. And I'm the one controlling your big robots. You help us, we'll help you, Typhus growled. Jara laughed. It's not like you have much choice, beetle brats, huh? Roland cocked an eyebrow. What about you? Will you return to the comics? Vexor would have gave a sly smile if he had a mouth. I won't tell you. Joe sighed. Jara's right. We don't have a choice. In the next room, Mums was trying to direct the statue Ghoulam how to dance, but he kept stepping on the other monster's toes, which really hurt since his feet were made of stone. The kids went back to town with the Magnivores at their side. It was a surreal sight. The kids would never have thought their former villains would be their allies. Vexor ordered the monsters to stop their assault, and Noxic reactivated Roboborg and Boron. They then went to the cemetery. Nucus had regained his strength and was waiting outside the lair with Harabel, Vylor, and the dregs. Drew stepped forward. Give up, Nucus. You're outnumbered. Nucus just stood, stubbornly defiant. I've sent these monsters back to the page before. I can do it again. Noxic, Typhus, and Jara charged at him. Beat this, baby! Roared Typhus, striking at Vylor with his sword. Noxic cheered on his team. We're backing on the attack! He kicked over Nucus, laughing and pointing at him. Jara took down Harabel. No match for me, Horriblob! Nucus staggered as he rose to his feet. You weren't that strong before. Vexor laughed. Odd Fortunes rebooted us. We're stronger than ever, with new powers, and we're no longer villains. We're anti-heroes. Nucus charged the Beetleborgs and their new allies, but was quickly overwhelmed. The Magnivores tied up the crustaceans. The Beetleborgs thanked them. But what do we do with them? They're not from a comic, so we can't send them back to one, Drew asked Vexor. Oh, but they are. Vexor pulled out a preview page for the upcoming issue of Beetleborgs Metallics. Nucus, Vylor, and Harabel were all there. At the top of the page were credits by Art Fortunes with special character submissions by Les Fortunes. Vexor laughed as evilly as an anti-hero could. He waved his hands. Nucus and the crustaceans all became 2D and went into the comic. The kids de-transformed and looked to the Magnivores. Smiles spread across their faces. So I guess you guys will go back too? Joe asked. Vexor nodded. As much as I'd love to stay here in reality and battle you Beetlebrats, I must return to the comics. The show must go on. Typhus hung his head. Bummer, baby. The kids watched as all the Magnivores returned to their comics. I guess this is it, said Roland. Remember what Flabber told us before? No bad guys, no good guys. Drew and Joe remembered. It was fun being a Beetleborg, Joe said. A tear ran down Drew's face. Back to just being kids, then. Come on, let's go tell Flabber. The kids all lit up. Maybe the monsters will chase us around, Roland exclaimed. Maybe we'll meet some kooky acquaintance of theirs, laughed Joe. And after that, we'll all go to Zoom Comics. Van and Trip will be there, teasing us, Drew added. Joe nudged her brother with her elbow. Don't forget Heather will be there, too. Drew playfully shoved her back. The kids all went happily to Hillhurst to see their friend Flabber. After hanging out at Hillhurst for a while, the kids leave for Zoom Comics. Roland's father is back in town and talking to Nano. Van and Trip are looking down their noses at some kids. Heather waves at Drew, which causes Joe to giggle at him. The kids flop down on a couch and read some comics. You guys think the Ninja Turtles are real? Asks Drew. Roland nods. Of course they are. What about the Power Rangers? Joe shakes her head. Oh, come on. Just because they're on TV doesn't mean they're real. They banter on, sitting in Zoom Comics in our little town of Charterville. On the outskirts of Charterville is an old mansion called Hillhurst. They say it's haunted. Would you dare spend the night there?